What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Robert, Rule of Two Review, and today, are we looking at a Steam-powered future? I'm, of course, talking about all of this crazy Valve news coming out of CES. The Consumer Electronics Show has been going on the last day or so, and there's been tons of news about all sorts of different geeky gadget things, and whether you're talking about computer stuff, hardware stuff, TV living room stuff from Sony, Hollywood-related technology, all sorts of cool things happen at CES every year. It's been going on for well over a decade. Very cool show. Not normally known specifically for gaming industry-related things, but occasionally you're going to see that kind of stuff there. And one of the biggest news in the gaming space, as I'm sure you might already know, is going to be all of Valve's Steam Machine news. Holy cow, there has been a ton of information that has come out. This is something that Valve has been teasing for. It's been a rumor for well over a year that they were working on some sort of console or living room computer device. And then, of course, in the last a few months ago, they started revealing all sorts of news slowly. They revealed a brand new setup kind of structure for Steam that is going to be rolling out pretty soon. Like the whole OS is being revamped. They of course talked about the fact that they are indeed making they were indeed making some sort of Steam box kind of living room sort of device that we didn't really know much about at the time, but it basically confirmed that rumor that I was talking about. And they of course showed off a brand new controller meant for this, which was this really, it almost looks like a standard, like an Xbox 360 kind of controller, like a console related controller, except instead of analog sticks, it has these weird haptic feedback touchpads, circular touchpads where your thumbs go. There's buttons in very odd places. Another kind of touch screen sort of thing in the middle, very small, not nearly as in-depth or large as the Wii U's, but some sort of touchscreen device, weird trigger buttons all over on the back. I think 19 buttons in total. Don't quote me. I might find that out while I'm chatting with you guys right now. But they, of course, revealed that. And that was a few months ago, and then they kind of went silent. Now CES has rolled around, and Jesus Christ, there's all sorts of information that came out. The biggest and most important bomb drop is that they showed off 13 new Steam machines. They actually have 13 of them, and I don't even think that's going to be the end, but it's just, I can't even believe that this is what's going on. And so here's the interesting thing as more and more news has come out. And bear with me, because although I love PC gaming, have a pretty good rig, and I do indeed play really good PC games, I'm not a PC specialty kind of guy. If you know me, or if you've been listening to my videos slowly as I've been doing this the last few months, you've learned that I'm still mostly a console guy. I love PC gaming and all that stuff, but I'm not super tech savvy when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm a Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft kind of guy, and I like my PC for the PC games that are awesome. I'm a huge Diablo fan, Skyrim on PC, Fallout, stuff like that. But that's kind of where I rest on the PC side. So this stuff, I don't want to say it goes over my head, but I might not be able to spin the kind of jargon that a lot of you might be used to hearing if you're very PC savvy. So just bear with me on this. But what's interesting is that Valve is not actually producing the Steam machines. There's other third-party companies, other developers, hardware manufacturers, and PC developers that are, technology companies that are actually making these boxes with Valve's Steam OS and to certain Valve-specific specifications. So if that makes sense, I'm sure this isn't probably news to you. This was big news as of yesterday, January 6th, and I'm just now talking about it a day later. But yeah, 13 machines, and I mean, they range from, an Origin PC version to Alienware, which is a really big one because they're known for how high-powered gaming towers, Alternate, Digital Storm, a lot of companies I haven't even heard of, Scan, Webhalen, Zotac. I'm not familiar with those, but they all have their own versions of the Steam machine. And just, a further rundown for anyone who might not know all the details is each one of these, this is where it gets kind of confusing for me. I'm very torn on how I feel about this whole thing. And it should be known that I love Valve. They are all but perfect when it comes to developing games. They've made some of the most important, game-changing, relevant, poignant games that we've had in the last decade or so, and they're continuing to do so. It may take them a while to release new games, but when they do, they're fan-freaking-tastic, So there's that, and then, of course, they revolutionized PC gaming and buying with Steam. Even as a console-first gamer, I still use Steam. I use it quite a bit, and there's quite a few games that I play, and I love to use the service and find, little gems and stuff to play on there. Steam is fan-freaking-tastic. So I do appreciate the concept of trying to bring Steam to more people via these different outlets and try to get into the living room and whatnot. However, I'm still kind of torn, and I'll get into that in a minute as to why. But so they have these 13 different machines built by all these different companies, like some of the ones I just read to you. And so this is why I don't understand why this is happening. The whole thing is just freaking mind-boggling. Each unit built by a different company has just different specifications for a different price. I think the cheapest one that I had seen is somewhere around $499 or $5. I think $499 is the lowest priced one. And then I think the highest priced one, this is just how you would buy them at, I think, in the box out of a store, I believe. The cheapest is $500. There was one for up to $6,000. That's crazy to me. And so I'm trying to understand this model, because what they're essentially doing is they're just pre-building PCs with different specifications and selling them, which isn't new. There's nothing new about this concept. However, and this is kind of to Valve's credit, even though I think it's kind of ridiculous and doesn't get me as excited as I was hoping I was going to be when these rumors were first coming around. To Valve's credit, they're spinning it via the media, and they're packaging the business model as if it's kind of a bigger deal than it is, or a newer idea than it is, I should say instead. They're trying to make it seem like it's actually something unique, and it's actually not, except that they're using the media blitz to help make it appear as if they are. But dude, we buy different PCs and laptops with different specs all the time for different prices. And of course, really PC savvy people, like a lot of my really good buddies are very good at this stuff, and they've helped me in the past build their own. Which is cool. That is one of the benefits to PC gaming, and I think that's really cool. It's not an option you really have with console gaming, so I appreciate that huge difference in PC gaming to console gaming. But this just seems like such a weird thing to be making a fuss about. It's like, hey, Alienware is making a machine, and here you go. You can just buy it. Like, that's really all they're doing. However, it's kept within this, giant umbrella of, it's a Steam machine. It's part of Valve's brand new business model. All this disruptive hardware coming into your living rooms and attaching to your TV and yada yada. We can do that with PCs already. So I'm trying to focus my thoughts. Forgive me, guys, because I'm kind of, although I like the general concept, my brain is all over the place with this stuff, and I'm trying to decide where I want to go with the topic. So when I think about the stuff that doesn't really appeal to me and why I don't necessarily love what's going on here, it's because I think that this is just one big complicated mess when if this is really going to be something that Valve is trying to do to be disruptive to the console market, yes, this is meant to be something that can more invade your living room and be hooked up to your TV and whatnot. But it depends on their purpose. And if they really play this out like this is trying to be like their attack or their step into the console video game market, they want to start attacking Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, or trying to bump them out or overshadow them. That's a problem. It pisses me off because this is not the way to do it, and I don't like a company I love like Valve trying to be so militaristic against the three companies that have been established for years, Nintendo for decades, and even Sony. Really, what do you do? It doesn't work that way. You shouldn't be doing it this way. Also, if this is how they're doing it, instead of just maybe building their own actual console, which I absolutely would have preferred if they wanted to enter the console space, why would they be doing it with these they're just PCs meant to hook up to a TV, and there's 13 of them, different prices, different specs, and it's just what a fucking mess that you're trying to bring into people's living rooms, Now, if they try to keep themselves separate from attacking the console space, it's a little bit of a different story, and it depends on where they go with this once the stuff starts coming out. It's really about what their marketing and business model becomes as the stuff becomes available, which we don't really know all that stuff yet. So that's why it's conjecture, and I'm talking about really both angles here. The first angle, like I mentioned, that pisses me off. I think it's a huge mistake, and it makes me kind of angry with Valve if that's how they want to go about doing this. The other angle is that they're not really trying to do that, and they really just like the idea of expanding their OS and their Steam service and everything that Valve does into different spaces, and just trying to grow their business. And if they do that without trying to single out the console market, then that's actually really cool, because as I had said in this video, I love Valve and I love Steam, and if there's ways to help make it even more successful than it already is, fucking awesome. Do it. I want you guys to see the success, provided you're not being dickheads. And now here's what's also tough about this is I kind of think that they are maybe kind of going towards the console market. it's at least the media is lending it to sound that way because there was a few conversations. Gabe Newell of Valve, of course, has been doing a bunch of press about this stuff, over the last day or two. Of course, it's a big news, and he's the go-to guy for Valve. And there's been some conversations and some quotes and some questions asked to him that are directly relating mostly to him talking about Microsoft and comparing what they're doing and have done to specifically Microsoft and even more specifically the Xbox One. And he's talked about how, Xbox One's 3 million units doesn't compare to the 65 million users we already have, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of a boneheaded thing to say, Gabe. I don't know why you would even say that. Granted, I do think you were just answering a question that was posed to you, in which case you kind of get to slide a little bit. But if that's how this is being spun, that quote and question in and of itself is directly pitting Valve against Microsoft, Valve and the Steam box against Microsoft and the Xbox One, hence Steam versus consoles. And then that becomes the very model that I was really hoping wasn't going to be the case. So it's really tough to envision if that's what's going on. And this whole idea of taking all these machines, everything that Valve is building, Valve is not building it, everything that Valve is making available via these other companies building these machines to, again, I'm just trying to break it down to the bare essentials. They're just PCs, different looking PCs with different specifications, just being sold out of the box like we've been doing for years, or building them, whatever, and hooking them. And it's supposed to invade your living room space because we haven't been able to do that before. I think people have been hooking their PCs, myself included, to, many different monitors, more than one monitor at a time, and HD TVs. Like I have an HDMI cable I keep separate just in case I need or want to hook my PC up to my TV and use it for that purpose, which I do sometimes, especially with people over. So, hello, this isn't anything new. I mean, why do you think you need to release 13 goddamn new boxes that can be as expensive as $1,000, $2,000, $6,000 to get people to hook their PCs up to TVs? I just don't think it kind of makes me nervous for Valve in the sense that I don't really know that the market is there for all these machines. I mean, what's the real purpose? It's not doing anything new. It's there. I'm going to keep running this into the ground, so I need to stop with this. They're just PCs. That's all they are. They're just a bunch of PCs like we've already had, like I've got in my house and you probably have in yours. That's what they are. Nothing mind-blowing here. So it's really weird that it's getting all this press and they're trying to make this big hubbub about it. I just kind of wish, and I don't even really wish it, but if they wanted to do this, I just wish they would have just made a fucking console. Like, just make an actual console and say, we're Valve. We've got a console. We've got our Steam service available for PCs, and it's whatever. Now, here are the good sides. The number one good side is it's Valve. As I've said a few times, Valve kicks ass, they make great games, and it's Steam. Steam is an amazing service. So I think it's really cool if there's a way to integrate more fully to immerse your living room experience and your TV with your PC experience. And obviously the new optimization of Steam and of the OS for Steam, I think, was meant to work more with a TV kind of capability than it is to be just a PC tower. The other thing is these things, yes, they are PCs being sold in weird different shapes and sizes and looks and models from different companies with different specifications. But these are not closed systems. These are treated even more like PCs than you might imagine, in that they are the hardware and the pieces of the PC are interchangeable. They are upgradable, just like a regular PC. I think that's really pretty cool. Thinking the positive side of all these different freaking Steam things coming out. We can still upgrade them and make them personal, just like we've been doing with our PCs, since they have been around. And that's pretty cool because that is, although that's not my thing, just because I don't really have that ability. I don't understand PC hardware enough, but it's definitely a huge part of the PC culture and the PC gaming culture. And a lot of my friends and probably a lot of you listening or friends that you have are into that stuff. And it's part of what does separate PC gaming from console gaming and what makes it great. So it's cool that that's not something that's going away via this. And it's almost the right kind of distinction because it helps, regardless of how much this may end up being or not being like an attack on the console space, it kind of helps keep it further separated from the console space regardless. And so I kind of like that. It's sort of negating the necessity for all the different versions. So I guess it's just like, pick the money you want to spend on a starter version of a Steam box, and then you can decide to do what you want from there, It's also Linux-based, which I think is really cool. So that gives a whole new, different kind of upgradable OS capability for a lot of people. I mean, I think the grassroots PC building community is going to really have a lot of fun with these, if this does kind of take off. That's pretty cool. And Oh my gosh! Again, my brain keeps going in different areas. So that's a lot of the good stuff. But then it makes me start to wonder if we do maybe have a genuine fear to consider in the near future, where Valve's software, like the next Half-Life and the next Left 4 Dead and everything else, whenever they do more Portal, all this stuff, whatever else they do in the future, the games that they make that are so great, they may become obsolete on consoles. They may no longer be doing that because they want to push this hardware and this whole new model that they're doing. So they may make all that stuff exclusive only to PCs, Steam, and Steam machines. And I would be lying if I said I don't recognize that as a very hip, smart move for Valve, because that's how you make your money. It's the same reason Nintendo will never waste their time and effort putting any of their stuff on like mobile platforms like people talk about. That shit sells what Nintendo does. They need it for themselves. Same with Valve. So if they decide to go that route, even though I would hate it and I would begrudge them for it, I would recognize it as a semi-smart business model, a business move, I should say. And so that's just speculation. If it happens, as sad as I'd be about it, I would certainly understand where they're coming from. So I guess that kind of remains to be seen too on what actually happens in that front. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is, of course, again, the controller. I kind of, I mentioned it, I brought it up, I explained it. There's no doubt in my mind you've probably seen it if you're listening to a video like this or watching a video like this. So I'm sure you've seen it. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about is I haven't really made up my mind on how I feel about it. At the end of the day, especially as someone who's been a fan of what Nintendo has been trying to do in the last two generations, with last gen with the Wii and next gen with the Wii U, I certainly appreciate and respect trying to change the user interface more than almost anything else. Better graphics and stuff is fantastic, and I love that. That's eye candy, and I think that can make games better, or if anything, more fun to look at. But at the end of the day, I think that the user interface and the actual games available for your platform is what makes a difference. And I appreciate trying to innovate. So although I can't tell if I would love or not love this thing, I am very glad for Valve trying to do something new and trying to release something new to the market. We need stuff like this. We need companies that do this. We need hardware and controllers and interfaces that come out that change things up, because it keeps pushing things forward. It keeps people thinking, inside and outside of the box and looking for new ideas. That aside, I still, like I said, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. This thing is very new. Only in the last few days, via CES has a lot of game journalists and websites and publications been able to actually get their hands on this now. They've been able to play this at the show. And I think that's really cool. I'm glad that they've been able to play it. I've only been able to do a little bit of research on some of, people's hands-on impressions of it. And, it's interesting. I don't know how telling this is, but the early response I've seen for the most part doesn't seem to be too positive. And it should be noted that, the locations that I found where they weren't super positive on it, I don't think anyone was really slamming it. I think they were just saying it's just super hard to adjust to. It wasn't really working the way I was hoping. And everyone seems to be not sure if it's going to end up working out in the long run or not. Which basically means it's, of course, still got the potential. It's brand new. Just the comparison I just used, when the Wii remote was brand new, that was something that, especially when you saw it, you're just like, I don't get it. I think I get it, but I don't get it. And you don't really understand it until you get it in your hands. And there's a learning curve. It took some adjustment, same with the Wii U gamepad and all that kind of stuff, and move and connect big time. But once you actually start to get it, you get it. And so maybe as the right developers make games that are utilizing this properly, or if, Valve has a chance to maybe perfect it before it's actually released, it can make a little bit more sense. But I just thought it was a little bit interesting that so far it doesn't really seem to be working too well for a lot of people, or at least making games feel better. But it's early, it's not out yet, so obviously a lot of that remains to be seen. Okay, lastly, taking a quick step aside from all the Steam Machine stuff, but still sort of vaguely related to Valve in its own way. I just kind of thought I would talk about this because I was spending so much time on Valve stuff and the Steam Machines, and like I said, this kind of relates. There was a game that is going to be announced in the upcoming issue of Game Informer. It's called Evolve. It was just sort of talked about on the internet today. And it's from the creators of Left 4 Dead. Now, here's the thing: is it's not actually a Valve Studio game. It's a studio called Turtle Rock Studios, but it's a lot of the developers and that people were involved with creating Left 4 Dead. I think Turtle Rock might have also been involved as a company, but I just can't remember. And 2K Games, of course, is publishing it. So a lot of the people involved with Left 4 Dead are now making this new game called Evolve. I'm really excited about this from everything I've read because it is definitely an alien-related sort of Left 4 Dead multiplayer Team Fortress even kind of experience, it sounds like. Like I said, relating around aliens, and I am an alien guy, so that gets me excited in general. Not to mention, Left 4 Dead is amazing, and those guys obviously know how to make really good games, cooperative and competitive shooters, first-person shooters and stuff, and that seems to be what's going on with Evolve. There's only so much information being talked about now. I think you can actually access the full Game Informer article for the February issue. I just got an issue of Game Informer, and it was not this one, so I don't really know exactly when we should be expecting this. But apparently you can find more details than I might even have around. But it's really cool. It basically works where you're playing as 4 different players on a team cooperatively, and then a 5th player is actually playing as a beast. I think you go to different planets, protecting it from this beast, and the one player playing the beast is going around feeding on indigenous creatures and plant life and stuff, and it actually helps itself grow in size and upgrade itself, become stronger, and have different abilities. And the other 4 players are working together to hunt the beast on different planets. So what happens is each of the 4 players, in a semi-standard fashion, have different abilities. Like a weapon kind of tank sort of person, somebody who's like a healer or a medic, things like that. It's got very much a lot of, like I said, Team Fortress as well as Left 4 Dead kind of elements to it. Only the really kind of neat little spin on this compared to something like Left 4 Dead is the addition of that 5th player that actually plays as essentially the enemy to all the other players, as opposed to just being 4 people running through a bunch of aliens or zombies or what have you. It's kind of 4 people versus another player as a gigantic, unstoppable beast. And I just think that is super, super cool. Like I said, there's going to be more details coming soon in Game Informer when that comes out. I hope that they give us ideas of when we can actually expect it. Apparently, I'm just kind of looking over a few things here as I talk. Apparently, the beast itself, it's called the Goliath, and it can get as tall as 30 feet, and that's pretty freaking awesome. It's pretty cool to imagine this. There's only some concept art that's really being shown right now. I don't know if the full issue is going to show a bunch of gameplay footage or pictures or not, images, and when we'll get to see more. I'm hoping it's soon, and I hope this game comes out this year. What also sounds interesting, and I really am crossing my fingers that this ends up being true, is that I really hope that there is a single player campaign, because I like that a lot of these games come out. I'm a Call of Duty guy. I love the multiplayer. I like the multiplayer in Halo and stuff like that. Gears of War is amazing. But I also really like a good, strong campaign. I am super pumped for Titanfall, and I've decided I'm going to have an Xbox One for that game when it comes out. However, I am actually kind of bummed that there's no campaign component, for that game. The multiplayer is going to be fantastic. That's the hook. That's what I'm looking forward to playing. I'll play the most of it, but I still like to have a story or something I can go through either by myself or with some friends or something. I mean, that I still prefer those kind of experiences, and so I hope that despite the fact that all the news about Evolve that I can find right now seems to only be talking about the multiplayer stuff, I really hope that there's some sort of single player mode or campaign going on here. And I think there's going to be, probably cooperative, I'm sure, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to have some sort of story element. Granted, maybe there's going to still be an actual narrative of some sort carrying forward all this multiplayer stuff we're talking about, the 4 versus 1 Goliath mode kind of stuff and the different modes there. But I hope that there's also beyond that an actual story campaign, something else to do besides just some deathmatch kind of stuff with this unique formula. Because as cool as it would be, I feel like it would get tired pretty quick. But again, obviously, Turtle Rock Studios knows what they're doing. They know how to make good games. They know how to make these specific kinds of games, as they've established. So it's really exciting to see that they're doing something. I like to see more alien stuff. Man, I'm not going to lie. That's just something that just speaks to me. I love aliens. I love zombies too. But at the end of the day, if I had to pick, it's aliens over everything. I'm just that kind of guy. So, taking that kind of formula, changing it up a little bit, and putting it in that kind of sci-fi space is really, really super exciting. So, like I said, keep an eye out for the Game Informer issue sometime. I'm guessing soon. It's the February issue. It's the cover story. It's Evolve from Turtle Rock Studios and 2K Games, from the guys responsible for Left 4 Dead. It should be pretty badass. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Pretty long video because I obviously had a whole lot to say about Valve and the Steam machines, and I'm sure there'll be a whole lot more to talk about soon once we get more and more info, especially after this week, I think. So it's even though everything isn't totally blowing me away, it's still a really exciting time. It's good to have new things coming around, from good quality, trusted companies, and changing things up a little bit. So hopefully it all ends up working out for the better. Thanks for tuning in. As always, subscribe to the channel, please. Like the Facebook page. I'm going to have a link in the description below. Like the video, share the video, and of course your comments and thoughts. Also, we are now up on Twitter, Rule of Two Review, so you can find us at Rule of Two Review on Twitter. So please go and follow us there so we can start sharing some cool things with you guys there. It's really exciting to be able to do. So again, I hope this was entertaining for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay video, and thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.